Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show today. Our guest is Etienne de la Boetie Squared. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be with you and your audience.
Oh, thank you. Now we've had you on once before to talk about your one of your previous books, Government: The Biggest Scam in History Exposed.
Mhm.
I've got a copy here. It's a lot of I was going to say fun, but it's some heavy reading, but important reading.
Mhm.
And now I hear you've got a new book coming out, a book about one of my favorite topics, voluntarism.
I do, and for those that didn't see the first interview or just a synopsis in my first book, my thesis is government was never intended to protect life, liberty, and property, but it's kind of best thought of as a technique for robbing and controlling populations. It's always illegitimate. You can't have a legitimate moral government. You can't delegate rights you don't have yourself to a representative to represent you doing something you don't have the ability to do yourself. You can't be bound by a social contract you didn't sign. If my fiance and myself can't vote to rob Jeff because there's two of us and one of him, it doesn't matter if there's 10 of us or 250. And so it's really been the biggest scam in history. And in the book, I break down the playbook of, all the governments are usually, essentially using the same, little basket of techniques. They're going to send you to a mandatory government school. They're going to, there's a youth program that teaches you flag worship and I could go on, 20 plus techniques that we break down in the book. But one of some of the feedback I get is, at the end, you do a great job of exposing how intergenerational organized crime runs the government and the media and academia. But what are we going to do? Who builds the roads? And so my new book that I've got coming out at voluntarism-book.org is entitled Voluntarism: How the Only Ism, Political Ism, Fair for Everyone Leads to Harmony, Prosperity, and Good Karma for All. And we just finished a conference in Sedona called Liberty on the Rocks. Sedona, the Voluntarism Conference at sedona.artofliberty.org, where we had some of the leading economists, political philosophers, legal scholars to really talk about how you could get everything that you want from the government except redistribution. You can't rob Peter to pay Paul. But most of what the government does is services, and whether that service is armed protective services that they call the police, or dispute resolution that they call the courts, or air traffic control, or delivering the mail, or running the worst passenger rail service in the hemisphere, whatever it is, it could be done better, faster, cheaper by the free market. And if you ever had any kind of doubt that that was not the case, then we had some of the world leading experts that just broke it down, boom, 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 how you can have everything you want from government without the government, and how we would be more prosperous and harmonious if people weren't fighting over the ring of power.
Nice. I think that's, from what I've seen, that's one of the biggest hangups that people have is that they're even not even being able to see how it's done. They're not able to separate the acts or functions of governance
Mhm.
from the organization of the government, the state. So I think even being able to get people to see that there is a difference there is a win because that can start them thinking along the path that you explored a lot more in the Liberty on the Rocks conference.
Exactly. And not just to go back to the original book, part of the reason is break it down in government, the biggest scam in history exposed is that, the idea of having a government, the idea that government is legitimate, desirable, necessary, has been indoctrinated into the population using a variety of unethically manipulative techniques to where they get you they get the population when they're young before they're old enough to really evaluate the logic and morality of government, and they indoctrinate it as a pseudo religion called statism. And so the flag is the artificial holy symbol. You go to the church school where the teacher, the priest, is going to teach you the holy documents of the Constitution, and they're going to take you to Mecca, Washington D.C. in middle school, and they're going to take you into the cathedral of the Capitol, and they're going to take you into the to the temples, and they're going to see the deities, and then there's a section of the population that's going to go through the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, explorers,
Mhm.
JROTC, ROTC, Young Marines, and military training, police training, where they're going to run other unethically manipulative techniques until they're giving kids awards for how to regurgitate back the necessity of government. And so it's kind of no, it's not I understand why most people have never thought about it. Number one, because it's being hidden, and number two, they were indoctrinated with this belief system when they were young, and it's become part of them, and they've internalized it in a way that is unhealthy, and is hard to dislodge.
Mhm. And I think if people were exposed to the idea in a different way, like one way I try to phrase it is, let's say a business started and their business model was, we are going to take money from you, whether you want our services or not, and
Mhm.
then we're going to decide what we're going to do for you for that money. And you can have 1/325 millionth of a say in what we do with it. How about that?
Mhm.
Sound good? Of course it doesn't. But people don't think of the government in that way. Question
Mhm.
is about the voluntarism book. Is it necessary for people to have read your first book in order to get the most out of the second?
No, not at all. But if you have read my first book, it's the same. It's going to be in the same kind of image-rich format. And so, most people are visual learners. They come to insight, much quicker if you show people a visualization or a meme. And so I've got some of the best memes in Liberty. And what I've been, I also specialize in something I like to call the executive summary of the executive summary, which is, I'm going to, break down each of these different areas of society into kind of easily digestible, kind of treatises, to where you can come in and you can get the, all of the info. Like if you doubt that we could have law without government, you can go right to the section on law, and here's the executive summary of the executive summary, but it's all backed up by references and other works and videos. And in fact, in the book, we've got a video channel that's already up. We're still populating it with the videos, but we've already got dozens of videos up there. How would you have private military defense? How would you have roads? How would you have all of these different things? And you can either scan a QR code and boom, you might get a lecture from Mises Institute scholar Bob Murphy on how you could have private military defense, how insurance companies might provide military defense in a stateless society, or you might get John Stossel saying something, like a little 7-minute John Stossel clip on how they've already got private roads in Britain, and people that have built private roads because the councils and the government weren't doing it. And so you can have a deeper dive, whether that deeper dive is, it might pop up a PDF of a book. It might pop up a video, but like you're able to get the synthesized information quick to, and to explore further.
Nice. So I imagine for the print book, they'll have to type those in. Is there also going to be a digital version where they can just click on the link?
Oh yeah, yeah. So if you're clicking, you'll
Nice.
you'll click on it. If you're reading it in the physical copy, you can just scan it and it'll pop it up on your phone.
Oh.
The book is, as I mentioned, the book's called Voluntaryism: How the Only Ism Fair for Everyone Leads to Harmony, Prosperity, and Good Karma for All. And the good karma part is, if you really think about it, all the other isms, whether it be communism or socialism or constitutional republicanism, all of those isms, there's a ruling class that has rights that you don't have, and an exemption from morality that you don't have. And if you're voting for red government or blue government, you are essentially advocating violence on your friends, your neighbors, your family, your colleagues that disagree. And so, you're saying, hey, my guy Trump or my gal Kamala, it's so, it's so important that, that he's got to rob everybody and put these policies into place, or she's got to rob everybody and put these policies into place. And voluntarists are the only ones that are saying, hey, let's not rob anybody. World's a self-organizing system. It produces spontaneous order. Everything the government does would be done better, faster, cheaper by the free market. We don't need government. And that really is the good karma, the good news message of the book, and the good karma of being a voluntarist is you're not responsible for what Trump does or what Bush did or Obama did or Biden did or what all of the crimes of the government. You're completely, free. You're not advocating violence on your neighbors that disagree. You're not in trying to impose a ruler on other people that don't believe in having a ruler. It's the good karma alternative to being tricked into voting for the lesser evil in rigged elections.
Mm. And it's freeing in more ways than that. I think I was thinking about this with the recent election in the US, is that I noticed that even people who knew better, when they went and voted,
Mhm.
whichever side it was for, even though they knew that voting had minimal, if any, real impact, their vote, I should say, they bought into the myth of it, even though they knew better. And suddenly it's my candidate, my president, I'm
Mhm.
on this side. And before they voted, they could see all of that. After they voted, it's like they had bought in, even subconsciously, to the system.
Mhm.
And uh, it was unpleasant seeing people who just a few years ago knew better, sliding in that direction of statism. Ugh, it was sad.
Yeah, so it's a what I like to call a brute force manufactured consensus. And the subtitle of my original book, Government, the Biggest Scam in History, is how intergenerational organized crime runs the government, the media, and academia. And one of the secrets that I break out in the book, and some of the visualizations that I use in that book is, some media ownership charts showing how, essentially the media has been bought up on the old media side. You've got, six companies running hundreds and hundreds of subsidiaries to give everybody the illusion that there's all these different choices in the media. On the new media internet side, according to Matt Taibbi and Racket News, breaking down the Twitter files and the kind of the evidence that came out on the House weaponization of government. There were about 50 organizations, some government, some private, Facebook, Twitter, Google, and others that are censoring, have been caught censoring information algorithmically, steering the population. And so if you don't understand that this is going on, then you're very kind of, the population is very open to this brute force manufactured consensus where you think everybody's going along with government, everybody's for it. And if you don't have an enlightened workplace, if like if you don't have other people, you might look around and if your every single screen is telling you to vote, and it's the most important election ever, and Joe Rogan's for it, and Elon Musk is for it, and I can get into that. I just did an article on the psychology of these manufactured high status monkeys. But like, it's very easy to just go along with what appears to be everyone, even if that everyone is being manufactured through this monopolized media system that is using kind of knowledge of behavioral psychology to put high status monkeys, I like to call them high status monkeys, on the screens, getting the population to go along with it because that's the behavioral psychology of how people are being tricked into supporting things on the screens.
And you can see that. I noticed it especially with Democrats, although it happens with Republicans as well,
Mhm.
that when Kamala lost, they just couldn't comprehend how that could possibly be, because the news they consume was all of the
Yes.
left wing that said it was going to be this. This is what's happening. Oh, Trump's a felon. He's this, he's that.
Mhm.
He's literally Hitler. But and so they assumed that that was what everyone knew. And so of course he's
Mhm.
going to lose.
It's
But
called a filter bubble. And so the technical term for that is a filter bubble where
hmm,
Google will actually give you different results based on the profile that they've already created for you.
uh,
And so you may only be seeing blue news and red news. In fact, Brave lets you now choose, do you want red news or blue news? Like it's really unbelievable. As if there's only two choices of news. You can have red colored news or you can have blue
hmm.
colored
How
news.
about
But
just the facts? Wouldn't that be nice?
well, they're not, but like like the fact that government is illegitimate on its face, that you can't have a legitimate government. I mean, so that the entire media system, and what I believe is that the media system is being used to in the words of Noam Chomsky, manufacture consent. And it's being done that in this kind of brute force, a brute force manufactured consent. And so that there, unless you know that that's going on, you're not even in the game. Like you're not even on the field. You're not even, it's just like you
Yeah,
don't even
just one
get
of
it.
the pieces that's being played.
Right. You're being played. Like if you don't understand that there's a man behind the curtain in the media and that government on its face is illegitimate and they're trying to trick you into it by putting the legitimacy of government on every single screen in a weaponized using monopolized media in a weaponized system to control the information you receive so you can be tax farmed, you're not even in the game.
Hmm. Oh, but your latest book is going to, the objective is to try to help people see beyond that, to start to become free of that.
Yes, so the good news message here is we don't really need government. And so, what I'm doing kind of in the book, and I'll just give you, and what we did in Liberty on the Rocks, Sedona, the voluntarism conference, is we really tried to, break it down. And the first book is the problem, and then the second book is the solution. And what a lot of people don't really understand is that voluntarism is going on all around you. It's not a pie in the sky idea. It's not that, oh, we're like armed protective services companies. Those would never work to replace the monopoly police. They're already working in Detroit. Detroit Threat Management, which I'm sure your audience might be familiar with, is providing, private armed protective services better than the Detroit police. Here, where I live right now in Memphis, Tennessee, the government is so bad at protecting things that almost every single business has private security in addition to the free government monopoly police. So if all of the businesses have to pay for security, then why don't they just pay the security company they want that has a track record of success instead of having to pay for two, the one they don't want, and then the one they need to have to replace the one
Because
that
the first
doesn't,
doesn't work. Yeah.
because the first one doesn't work. So it's just it's absolutely it's unbelievable. But a lot of people, don't know that this is going on. In my talk to, Liberty on the Rocks, the title of it was the free market mechanisms that deliver public goods for free. And a lot of people, they when they hear the term capitalism, or free market, they associate that with this kind of mixed economy that really isn't capitalism and really isn't a free market. And what we have right now is really, called cronyism or crony capitalism.
Hmm.
And what people don't understand is in a true free market, there's a lot of, economic um, uh, uh, mechanisms that balance the needs of producers and the needs of consumers. And I'll just run through, some of those, for you. Well, but first one of them is called spontaneous order. And so that the world is this self-organizing system. It produces something called spontaneous order, which is where order emerges out of kind of disorder. And examples of spontaneous order, some of my favorites are the grocery store, where you've got where literally millions of people that don't know each other from around the world on 6 different continents are being organized, not with a top-down hierarchical, government bureau or ministry, but through the free market to, grow, manufacture, retail, truck, distribute, harvest, can, process all of the different foods that you want. It gives you strawberries in January, avocados in February. There's no, top-down centralized control. Everyone is paid for their individual part of delivering that. And there's no top-down centralized control as well. Other examples are, your mobile phone is not just, one company does not just make your mobile phone. Hundreds of companies, thousands if you include the people that are, providing the software, but they're mining the metals, they're creating the glass, they're, building everything and the inside from from the antenna to the Wi-Fi chip to to the cellular chips. They're like all of this is being done by specialty companies with no, kind of organization at all.
Yeah, not top
Another
down.
one, yeah,
Is the message of iPencil, but for everything.
for everything, exactly. And I cover iPencil in the book, and the, the idea that anybody, could. And it's funny. So some of the speakers at the conference, one of the speakers at the conference was James Corbett. And James Corbett delivered a very, from Japan. He kind of phoned it in, but he produced a very humorous, video called "The Ministry," a word from the Ministry of Toothbrushes, where he broke down the absurdity of the government intervening in the toothbrush business, and then brought it around to the fact that the Soviet Union actually tried that and it failed horrifically. And it was really well done. It was one of the, the best topics in the conference. You don't really need government to produce toothbrushes. You don't really need government to produce pencils, and you don't really need government to produce monopoly police or dispute resolution or deliver the mail or anything else the government does. The free market would do it better, faster, and cheaper. Some of the other ones that we covered are, who will build the roads? And I gave an example.
Classic.
I gave well, so we had Walter Block come in and really tear it apart. But one example that I gave was a couple of years ago, my son and myself, we ran a Tough Mudder race with a group of friends, and one of the guys that was on our team, friend of a friend, was a venture capitalist that built bridges.
Hmm.
And so they would look for places where, people had to drive, an hour or two out of their way, okay, to get from point A to point B, where there's enough people that would probably pay $5 to $10 so they don't have to drive an hour to 2 hours out of their way to get from point A to point B. And the second that they find one, they're building a bridge. And so, not only is that bridge going to get built without having to rob people or tax people or the inefficient middleman of Washington, D.C., or whatever state capital it is, but the venture capitalists are actually in a competition to find those locations as fast as humanly possible so they can build the
Before someone
bridge
else gets in
before
there.
the other guy builds the bridge. And then again, so now, $5, $10 to save you from driving, an hour to 2 hours. Everybody that makes that decision is like they're better off, or they would drive an hour to 2 hours out of their way, to keep doing it. But only the people that use the bridge pay for it. There's no inefficient middleman. It makes logical, perfect sense. And so that was kind of, another one. Another example that we talked about at the conference, who would protect the environment, right? And so one of the examples that I gave is, a lot of people aren't familiar, but in Maine, there's something called the North Maine Woods. The North Main Woods is 3.5 million acres. It's an area twice the size of Massachusetts. Most of it is timber companies, but there's private landowners and there's environmental groups that are, protecting certain areas within the area, and others that have all come together under a nonprofit called the North Main Woods, where they're not only are they protecting the land, but they're providing all of the amenities that you would expect from a natural park, a national or a state park. So you can go hiking there, you can go camping, you can go boating, you can go, like, it has private roads, it has, you've got all of the, essentially all of the amenities of like a national park at
Well,
comparable
but
prices.
but wait, Etienne, these are just greedy companies. So why would they do something like that? That doesn't make any sense, right?
No, because they're their customers and their neighbors and their friends. And what are they going to do? Just lock up the woods and not let anybody go into it? And so they're, like most people, they didn't know, like, so, to your earlier point, a lot of people don't realize this isn't pie in the sky. This is going on literally all around you, all around. Canada privatized their traffic control over a decade ago. It's the second largest air traffic control system in the world. It coordinates thousands of employees, hundreds and hundreds of air traffic controllers. They're moving 12 million air coordinating 12 million aircraft movements a year. Okay, and planes are not dropping out of the sky in Canada. So the most complicated things that you can, think of that most people associate with government are not are being done privately, and people are getting great results. And so, if we know that it works, why not just do some others? I'll give you just a couple more. Pickleball. Everybody loves pickleball. Pickleball's hot here in the United States. And it was funny. And so, we did the conference in Sedona, and we did some advertising in the local, newspaper in Sedona on their website. And I signed up to get email alerts to make sure that the advertising was being done for us as we contracted and everything like that. And I get this story that Sedona just opened 8 pickleball courts, outdoor pickleball courts, for a cost of $1.6 million. And I'm like, what? And so I pick up the phone and I call a guy that I know that runs a place here in Memphis, Tennessee called Pickleball Paradise, Willow Grove Pickleball Paradise. And I'm like, he's got 6 outdoor courts. He's building 5 more. And I'm like, hey, man, how much does it cost to build a pickleball court? This seems outrageous, crazy, retarded, unbelievable. And so he told me, so he built his six outdoor courts for less than $100,000, including 2 bathrooms and the fencing and
Oh, wow.
everything around that. He's building the 5 indoor courts, climate controlled, with bathrooms, for between 325,000 and $350,000 will be about what, the courts has. So he's got 11 courts. Okay,
Wow.
for
That's really good.
one, he's got more courts than Sedona, including 5 indoor courts, including bathrooms that they don't have, and all these things that they don't have. Okay, in a way better environment. So it really is a
Yeah.
pickleball paradise. He's got
That's
horses and mules that will come up and let you pet them, and he's got exotic chickens that
at
roam
the
the grounds.
at the pickleball courts?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, they don't get on the pickleball
Oh,
court, but
well,
like
yeah.
on the land around the pickleball court, which you can walk on and like, hang out on the property.
Wow.
It really is an amazing place. And so it's a way better facility. It's way better on so many places. He charges $5 a day to play. You can come and go much as you want. It's cheaper
That's
if you
pretty
buy
good.
a monthly or a yearly membership. If you can't afford it, he'll let you play for free. Okay. So it's literally got everything that you would want out of a public court. He's got more courts, he's got better courts, and he built them for less than one third. I did the math, okay? If you for Sedona's courts, if you bought all every single court there had 4 solid gold pickleball paddles. Okay. The average pickleball paddle is 8 ounces. So that's 32 paddles times 8 ounces of solid gold at $2,775 an ounce. Okay. It would only be $700,000. Where the hell did the other $1 million, where the hell did this other $1,100,000 go? And so I've got a freedom of information, request, document request out to the to Sedona. I'm looking into this. I think we exposed some more government criminality on the local level in Sedona. And so I'm trying to figure out, where did this $1 million go? It's unbelievable. And so
Well,
he's
it can go really
providing the
fast when
exact
it's
same thing. Just to recap, he's providing the exact same thing in his community as Sedona had to rob somebody to provide. Okay, that's a better product, and without having to rob or extort or anything like that. And so this goes to my point. Everything that government does would be done better, faster, and cheaper by the free market without the waste, fraud, abuse, and extortion of organized crime government.
I'll say that's the thing. $1 million goes really fast when it's someone else's $1 million.
As socialism works great until you run out of other people's money.
Exactly. But so what would you say to someone who said, well, well, that all sounds nice, but you can't really expect me to believe that if we just got rid of the government, that everything would be gold-plated pickleball courts tomorrow. There would be chaos, there'd be confusion,
Mhm.
all of that would happen. We just can't risk it. What would you say to someone who countered with that?
So, I mean, there's going to have to be a transition, to no government. And the government really has screwed everything up by
Yeah.
forcing everybody into a system that, using the guns of government. And so I'm not saying that there's not going to be transition costs. And I'm not saying that it's going to be Shangri-La paradise. That's what communists and socialists promise. If we could just spend more money, if we could just steal more money, if we could just have more control, if we just get our people into, then they're going to fix everything. What I'm saying is, it's going to be better for the overwhelming mass majority of people. There's going to be more prosperity, and there's going to be more harmony in society, because you're not wasting all the money on the elections. You don't have you're not having to fight at the school board level. One of the examples I gave in my talk at Sedona is, there's a real knife fight at the school board level, where, if where the Reds and the Blues are fighting it out, and if you lose at the school board level in San Francisco, then your child gets taught critical race theory and LGBTQ studies and all this other craziness. If you lose in Oklahoma, your child gets taught fundamental Christian theology, whether or not you're a fundamentalist Christian. And if you lose in Minneapolis, you might get Islam, imposed on your kid. And so this is the, in a voluntarist world, you don't have to fight at the school board level, because the government isn't going to steal your money and force your kid to a school that you don't disagree with. You can now afford to send your kid to the kind of school that you want. And that might be Montessori, that might be Waldorf, that might be an Acton Academy, that might be a Prentice school, that might be a vocational school, but it's your choice, without having to fight it out and duke it out with your neighbors over control of the school board. And so that's the harmony that I'm talking about. Just part of the harmony I'm talking about.
Nice. So where can people get a hold of your book? Is it out yet?
Yeah, so we're finishing it up right now, but we're taking
Okay.
pre-orders. I need some help finishing it up, so we're doing a $25,000 Indiegogo, where you can pre-order copies of the book at voluntarism-book.org. We've got a lot of really good perks that you can get in addition to the book itself, t-shirts and stickers and kind of other things. And I expect it to be shipping sometime in December.
Nice. Well, thank you very much, Etienne. That's exciting. Is there anything else you want to shout out before we wrap
Oh
up?
yeah, yeah. So by the time this airs, we should have all of the talks from Liberty on the Rocks, Sedona, the Voluntarism Conference on the website available for free. So if you've got any friends or family or colleagues that ever had an iota of a doubt that the free market wouldn't be able to replace government, then just direct them to sedona.artofliberty.org, and I'll make a final pitch for my Substack at artofliberty.substack.com, where almost all of the one pagers from the book "Government: The Biggest Scam in History" and all my original writings are available for free at artofliberty.substack.com.
Nice. We'll get those links down in the description of this video. Etienne, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Jeff, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for
Mhm.
having me.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what we do here, please like, share, subscribe, comment, and go over to our website where you can offer donations, request help, help us help people who are in need voluntarily. And we'll see you next time.